Welcome everyone to this edition of Lifescape TV. My name is Chaz Rao. I'm your host, and I'm coming to you from the Elk Creek Vineyards here in Owenton, Kentucky. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Chaz, Kentucky wine vineyards, that doesn't make sense. I thought Kentucky was all about bourbon and horse racing. Well, a little known fact is that the very first vineyard in North America was right here in Kentucky. So we're here at this vineyard, and we're going to speak with Joe Hall. Now he's the sales manager here at Elk Creek Vineyard, and he's going to tell us the history of winemaking in Kentucky and what makes it so unique to make the wine in Kentucky. We're going to do that in just a moment. Now remember, if you have an idea for an upcoming episode of Lifescape TV, please send it to me, chaz@lifescapetv.com. And hopefully I can create a show that is going to entice, make our life better, make it healthier, and make it even a little bit more interesting. So that's what this podcast is all about. And it's going to be very important that you help me with some of these ideas. Now let's go speak with Joe and let's find out about the history of wine in Kentucky. Okay, I'm here at Elk Creek Vineyards. I'm hanging out at the wine bar, and I've got Joe Hall here with me. Now, Joe, could you give us a little bit of history about wine in Kentucky? Because I told everybody that this is where the first vineyard was in North America. So could you give us a little bit of history about wine in Kentucky?
The first vineyards in the United States were here in Kentucky. Yes, it was in the late 1700s. Kentucky was the largest state in the United States to grow grapes and make wine. That came to end in the early 1800s when a blight came through and killed the grapes, and the farmers of the region then, for cash crop, planted tobacco instead.
Why Kentucky? Why Kentucky?
Well, I think wine is a big industry today. Wine sales in America today have outsold beer for 2 years in a row. Excuse me. And I think it's just making a real comeback. And why not Kentucky? Kentucky is a good region for growing. We've got good clay soil. The roots of the grapes like to go deep into the soil, and a lot of rock here, so they go in and they grab around the rocks, and they grow very, very well, especially the French hybrids. With the cold climate, do very, very well here. Some of your other grapes, like your Petites and Sangiovases and Merlots and some of those kind of grapes are a little bit harder to grow, but they still do pretty well. We have them all planted. We have 36 acres planted, and our oldest vines today are 4 years old. But we plan a lot of those to be estate wines. In fact, this next year, we're going to have our first estate wine out.
So, Joe, where are we going to go now? We're going to go to the process.
Let's take a little tour around and let you see all that we do here and how we go about it, okay?
Great. Well, let's head on in.
Okay, Chaz, we're going to go back to where we process all our grapes and make wine. Come on with me.
This is a big room.
This is one of the areas we have that we use for aging and for making. You can see the steel tanks. If you'll see specifically this steel tank with the ice on it, it's in what we call cold stabilization right now. So this is going to be bottled real soon. As you can see, we've got quite a bit of tank storage area. When we crush our grapes outside or we destem them, then we bring them in here, and and this is where it's all done in these tanks. This is where the fermentation takes place. This is where the wine is made. Here we are, Chaz, down in our aging room. I wanted you to see this because this is quite unique for Kentucky. This is something you probably would see more in California or in France. But we made this to look like you're in a cave in France or in Southern California or Middle California. And as you can see, this is all our oak barrels are down here. This is where we do all our fine wine aging. We have Petite Syrahs, we have Pinot Noir, we have Cabernets, Merlots, we have Syrah, we have some Sangiovese, we have some Pinot Grigio Reserve. In fact, we're even going to have our new estate wine sitting down here in these barrels. Most of what you see here is French oak. Like I told you before, there's some American, but most of what you see is French. So you can just kind of take a look around and see what you think here. It's really nice, and people really enjoy this. It's all part of our tours that we give to people here.
We're here at the wine bar at Elk Creek Vineyard, and I've got Joe here with me. And I had a couple questions about wine. If you don't know much about wine, some things you may see are, Joe, why do you swirl the glass? Why do you sniff the glass? And why on earth do you smell the cork? So give us a little bit of a lesson here on what we should do when buying wine or sampling wine.
Okay, well, wine is an experience, Chaz, as you know, and the whole process of experiencing is what you want to do. That's why people sniff it, because that's all part of an experience. If you're drinking a really nice big red wine, then you should have a nice big glass, so when you're sipping it, you're also taking in all the aromas of the wine. People will sniff the cork when it's pulled, and that's the first indication to tell you whether the wine is good or the wine has gone bad. If it has that kind of vinegary smell to it, then you're going to get that it's not going to be good.
So if it smells like that, is that where the term corked comes from?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if it has a vinegary smell, it's bad, and that's a corked bottle of wine.
Yes. Okay. Well, there's a good chance it will be. Not always, but there's a good chance it will be. You still have to taste it to make sure. When you bottle wine, we shoot just a little bit of nitrogen into it that shoots the air out of it, so when the cork goes in, then there's no air in there.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes if you don't keep the cork hydrated or wet, and that's why it's always stored on the side to keep that cork hydrated, air can get into it.
I did not know that.
Air can get into it, and that's what the term corked comes from. The bottle has been ruined, and it will have a kind of a vinegary taste. And the thing then you do with it is you use it for cooking. But once you open up your bottle of wine, then you want to aerate it. It's preferred on a good red wine that you decanter it. And to decanter it, you need a decanter, but you don't just pour your wine a little bit at a time. Turn that bottle upside down. Let it glump, 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 because what you're doing is you're putting air into it. And that's what you want. Now, that's opposite of what I told you a minute ago. When air gets into it, it ruins it. But when you first open a bottle of wine up, you want it to aerate. That brings out its flavor. That brings out everything about it. And that's why people swirl. Because as you swirl the glass, you are putting air into it.
And I've also
helps.
heard too is that when you grab a glass of wine, that you grab it by the stem, not by the bottom, because your heat of your hand changes the temperature of the wine and the flavor.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly true.
Now, how big of a difference will that make in the wine? Because I'm a big red wine drinker, which means I can't drink. I'm not a big white wine, so I like room temperature red wine, like a Merlot or something of that nature. And even if that, with my hand, it's going to change it in some way?
Yes, because your body temperature is 96 degrees, and the wine, ideally, a red wine should be served at about 58 to 60 degrees, ideally. 48 to 49 degrees for a white wine. Those are ideal temperatures.
Now,
most people will probably over-chill a white wine.
I don't drink the white. I drink the red. Now, what do we do? Now, when we're sniffing, after we aerate and then we swirl, then what do we want to sniff for? What do we want to smell for?
You just want to smell the aromas and see what's in there and see what you smell.
It's got like a little spice smell. I don't know.
See, everybody smells a little something different in it. Then when you get to the point where you're ready to taste, the best thing to do is you take a little bit in your mouth, swish it around, you get all those flavors in there. And now slowly swallow it and just enjoy it.
I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
Any chance I get to drink a good glass of wine, I enjoy it.
A good glass of wine is not only good, but it's good for you. So a good glass a day is good for you. Cheers.
Well, thank you. Awesome.
It's a good Merlot, isn't it?
Very good. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode from the Elk Creek Vineyards here in Owenton, Kentucky. And Joe, thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you for coming.
Now, if you're interested in coming here and being a part of the vineyards, the wine drinking, and staying at the bed and breakfast, I know that you can go to elkcreekvineyards.com, or you also have a phone number. So what's your phone number?
It's area code 502-484-0005.
Well, there you go. So if you want to make a trip to Kentucky, please do so. And again, my name is Chaz, and I will see you on the next edition of Lifescape TV. Let's get another bottle here.